So the most important thing to remember with exponents and radicals is power over root. So if you remember power over root, then you'll know how to go from one form to the other form, okay? So for example, let's just review. If we have the cubed root of 2, that's in radical form. What would that be as an exponent? 2 to the, what is the power of 2? There's an invisible 1. So if it's power over root, it'll be 2 to the what? 1 over 3, right? So it'll be 2 to the 1/3. It's the same as the cubed root of 2. If we had x to the 4/3 power, how would we write that as a radical? If it's power over root, what would it be? So is it cubed root here or the 4th root? Which one do I put there? The 3, right? And then it'll be x to the 4th, right? So it's always power over the root. So if you remember that, then simplifying these problems will become much easier, okay? So let's do, let's move this over. Oop. Okay, sorry. Let's do this one right here. So we have the cubed root of xy to the 9th. So right now this is written as a radical, but let's write it as an exponent. So instead of the cubed root of xy to the 9th, if we remember power over the root, then we can go xy to the what power? 9 over 3, because it's the power that xy had over the root of the radical, which is 3. And what is 9/3 simplified to? Yep, so it'll just be xy to the 3rd. And then we can simplify that one step further by just multiplying it to the exponent of the x and y, right? So it'd be x cubed, y cubed. All right, so just remember power over root and then follow the rules of exponents that we have been practicing. So let's write down number 2. We have the 5th root of x times the square root of x. So what is the 5th root of x as an exponent? So that's in radical form. How do we write it? In exponential form. What is the power of x? 1. What's the root? 5. So it'd be x to the 1/5 times x to the, what would this next one be? Remember, if it's a radical and there's not a number there, it's always 2 because it's a square root. X has a power of 1, so it'd be x to the 1/2 power, right? So that's the same problem. Instead of it being written in radical form, it's now in exponential form, because then we do what with the powers? Add them, because when you're multiplying them and they have the same base, you add them. So let's convert them to have a denominator of 10, since both of them divide into 10. So 1/5 is the same as how many tenths? 2 tenths. So we times both of them by 2, times x to the 1/2 is how many tenths? 5 tenths. Then now we can add them. So it's 2 tenths plus 5 tenths, 7 tenths. Good. Okay. If it wanted it back in radical form, then we could do that easily because we know power over root. So we could go the 10th root of x to the 7th, right? And that means the same thing. Okay, let's do one more. This one right here. Let me scroll down. So we have the 4th root of x to the 8th divided by the 4th root of x to the 6th. So first, instead of radical form, let's switch it to exponential because I think it will be easier to follow the rules. So power over root. So it would be x to the what? 8/4 divided by x to the 6/4. Let's simplify. So x to the 8/4 is really 2. 6/4 simplifies to be 3/2. Now, what's the rule? When we're dividing and they have the same base, what do we do with the powers? Subtract them. So how many halves are in 2 whole? How many halves? 4, right? 4 halves is the same as 2. So if we write this as 4 halves, then we can subtract them because they'll have a common denominator. So what's 4 halves minus 3 halves? What? What'd you say? 1/2, right? X to the 1/2, because 4 halves minus 3 halves. Well, but it's not x divided by x. It's x squared divided by x to the 3/2. So you got to subtract the exponents. So what's the same as x to the 1/2? Written as radical. So we could do this or square root of x. Yep. Okay. So today the problems that I'm going to assign you have both mixed forms. Sometimes you'll have to switch them to the other form and then do the exponent rules that we have been practicing, okay? All right. You need your textbooks. I hope you brought them with you. If not, I can maybe print you the page. But anyhow, turn to page 115. Yeah. So if you remember power over root, then we can rewrite this as what? 27x cubed to the what power? Because it's this power over this root. So it'll be 4 over 3. You could, and then you just have to do each of those over the root. Okay? All right, and then we do the power rule, which says to multiply this to the exponent of everything. So then it would be 27 to the 4/3 times x to the, what's 3 times 4/3? When you multiply a whole number to a fraction, you just multiply it to the numerator. So it would be 12/3, right, which is just 4. So 4/3 to the exponent of 27, 4/3 times 3 is 4. Okay, questions so far? Okay, now I'm going to show you what the book shows you that you can do. I'll show you one time because I think it's kind of crazy, but I just want to show you why it works. So since this was a cubed root here, or since the denominator of this exponent is 3, then you want to think of a number to the 3rd power that equals 27. So what number to the 3rd power is 27? 3. So if you rewrite this as 3 to the 3rd, then that's to the 4/3 times x to the 4th. Then when you multiply 4/3 times 3, what do we get? Because we just did it over here. 4. So then it will be 3 to the 4th times x to the 4th. And then you can just simplify that to get, I think it's 81. 81x to the 4th. Okay, so that's the way the book shows it. But I know if you guys just have a number raised to a fractional exponent, you're just going to plug it in your calculator. So I showed you why it is 81, and then I'm going to show you how to do it in the calculator. So you just go 27, and then do the caret button, and then you can just do 4 divided by 3. Okay? So I know you'll probably forget everything I just told you, but I showed you why it is the way it is, and anyways. Okay? So that's our answer, just 81x to the 4th. All right, let me have everyone start number 4 on your own, because it's very similar to number 3. All right, what did you guys do first on this one? You guys are going to be so quiet. I have to pick on somebody. Cameron, what'd you do first?
So you go 8x
Uh-huh. Yep, that is correct. Okay, what about after that? Yep, multiply it to the exponent of the 8 and to the x. So we have 8 to the 2/3 times x to the, what's 3 times 2/3? 6/3, which is 2, right? And then we can just simplify what is 8 to the 2/3 power? Should be 4. You just plug it in. Okay? So then that would just be 4x squared. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all of the answers to these problems that I've assigned you, and that way you can check as you go, okay? So if you want to write them down or take a picture, I don't really care, but I'll put them up here for you. Okay, and the rest of the time is yours to work on these problems. Let me know if you guys have any questions.